Hey everybody, this is Cameron Cloutier. I am the writer and filmmaker behind Queen of Hearts, the Twin Peaks fan film. And tonight I have with us my producing partner who came in at the 11th hour, really kind of helped save this production from being ultimately closed down, and then stepped into the role of Annie Blackburn at the 12th hour and really has managed to make this film incredibly special. So, Madison, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. It has been a while since we've done one of these videos, about over a year now. But we have a reason to do it, and that is because Act 1 of Queen of Hearts dropped over a week ago. Now, this was something that we had flirted with doing, about splitting the film into an episodic structure, but you and I weren't too keen on it for the longest time because we were like, no, we set out to make this big film. This is what it is. And it just, I was talking with you before saying our original estimate date to drop the film was June of 2020. Then it became November 2020. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to set a date because we're just going to finish it. And so just to be on the safe side, I just said 2021. And now it became December of 2021. And it was like,
2021 though.
Right. So I was like, and we still have number of effects to complete and all that kind of stuff. And I said, we can't go into 2022 without releasing something. So I kind of did a test of the first, what is now known as the first act, sent it out to a few people, get their reaction. The reaction was very, very good. So then we kind of thought, well, we could split it up in a certain way. We kind of figured out how to do that, and then afterwards drop the whole film. So I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody. But right now we're just talking about Act 1. So we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because that's something that we have a tendency of doing, because we talk about the whole thing as one thing because that's what it was designed to be. So anyway, Act 1 has dropped. What kind of how do you feel about the response it has gotten so far? We have a 92% approval rating on YouTube, over 4,400 views right now, 300 comments, 300 thumbs up. It's kind of a big deal for something that is that just dropped one day. We didn't even announce we were going to drop it, because at first we did come up with a date to drop it, and then somebody, I don't know who, sent it to like a troll who decided to like troll us with the whole thing, and so that became a nightmare. And so we kind of had to secretly upload it ourselves in a different, just one random day. So anyway, it's been out for over a week. What is your view on the whole response of it?
Blown away. I was so happy that, our whole goal was to do right by the fans and to like really just give people another opportunity to fall into the world, that David Lynch created. And, they welcomed it with open arms. And I loved that. And they saw it for what it was, which is a labor of love and just, something that we poured our hearts and souls into, nothing but good intentions. And I think that was evident. And I think that you can really see that in the response because people loved it. And I'm so glad they did.
Me too. At first I was thinking, well, are they, has it just been so long since they've been in this world that they're just happy to be back? And it's not like they're just kind of throwing us a bone. They generally enjoy this, which makes me really happy, because I was not that I was nervous, but I was thinking, okay, this Act 1 is going to determine whether people are going to jump on this ship or not. And the fact that so many people have said, yes, this is awesome, makes me breathe, because I know what's coming. So
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I want to say thank you very much for everybody for, like, seriously, all your kind words. I adore waking up in the morning and reading all those comments on YouTube. They're great.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for all the support, the encouragement, just really being the kind of, as one voice that kind of helped get us through all of the, twists and turns and setbacks and everything. That constant, positive encouragement was really the only thing that was really pushing us through it. So, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And for the longest time, it was it was a two-person crew. It was, you and me, and then whoever happened to be on set that day. If they were, able to help us out, they very kindly did. But it was you and me, like, every day, texting and, okay, what do we got coming up for this weekend? It is astounding looking at the film as, the way it is and the way it's come out. It's astounding we were able to pull this off. It's almost like the universe wanted this film to be done. It said, you guys have gone through so much trying to get this thing off its feet. Let's just, help you push it along. And I'm so thrilled because it looks so good. So,
Yes, I'm
and
very happy with it as well.
yeah. So, what do you think of these comments coming out on Twitter and as well as on Facebook? I've seen people say, you are at this point the definitive Annie.
Oh, well,
And what's funny is that when Queen of Hearts is all done, when Queen of Hearts fully airs, in terms of dedication to the part and when the film is done, the length of it, I think it's very possible that you've played the role longer than Heather Graham ever played the role.
oh, I mean, I don't know about that. But I mean, I spent a lot of time watching Heather Graham in the role and, really diving into it. And, I loved her Annie, and I really wanted to pay respect to that and, still try and be authentic to myself, you know, because, I didn't want it to come off inauthentic. So, it was really just a matter of really trying to pay respect to her character and all the hard work that she did, on that character, and just try and be authentic to myself at the same time. And, it was a really great experience. It really was. It was a little jarring, I have to say, because I was not expecting to jump into the role at the time, but it ended up being a blessing. It was
But
really
you were so affiliated with the project by then, you knew exactly what was needed.
yes, yes. I knew what we needed. I had completely thrown myself into the world of Twin Peaks at that point and was obsessed. And I had read and reread and reread and reread the script, and I did know what we needed. And so when that kind of vacuum opened up and we didn't know what we were going to do, I knew that I could step in and make sure that the film still happened, because that's really what it was. Is I wanted to make sure that the film still happened.
Well, we had put so much time into this that the idea that that there was a possibility that we were just going to have to just close up shop again was just like too
Not an
depressing.
option. Nope.
um yeah, it humbles me when I read that, when people say, like, oh, she's Maddie's the definitive Annie now, and it's like, it's so nice that people have
Very
like
nice.
completely just bought in to the fact that you are a continuation of this character. And not for me, but I know for some people, they say it takes about 10 seconds or so, and they go, okay, it's not Heather Graham, and then all of a sudden they see that you are that character. There's not a question of, and I think the same thing I've seen about Nico and Paul as Wyndham. People are just clicking with them.
And honestly, I think that's a testament to the writing. I think, when the writing is true to the characters, I know
Sure.
that the actors were so great, and they put their mark on those characters because, it was absolutely written for those people, but the writing is true to the characters. And as long as, they're able to buy into the characters themselves as being true to those characters, then, totally succeeded. So,
Yeah, I mean, some people have asked me, how is this thing written so purely? And I've always said because the idea was always there, back in the day when I was young, and so it felt like it was a natural extension of the world because you had prior to this had never seen Twin Peaks, and before you even read the script, you watched the both seasons of the movie and then The Return, and
yes.
then you read the script. So by that time, you were like, okay, you knew exactly what this thing was. And I remember, when you were playing Annie as we were filming, it's it's one of those things where you can understand how an actor in a role can kind of merge. Because I think at one point you said to me, "Yeah, there's a lot about Annie that is me." And I thought that was really interesting because there are some moments that will be coming up where if you guys think that Maddie's already incredible as Annie, wait till you see what she's got coming up. Because I mean, there's some jaw-dropping moments coming up. That's really great.
Well, I'm excited for everyone to see it. I think there's some especially, I'm excited for this next act to come out. I think that there's a lot that people have been dying to see, and I think that, they're really, really going to enjoy it.
I'll give you guys a little hint. We're gonna drop it next week sometime, and if Act 1 was about reacquainting yourself with Annie and Cooper and Wyndham and Diane and Major Briggs, this next act you're gonna now meet Caroline, and she is a force to be reckoned with. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So you see, we come up with this idea of we're gonna split this thing into acts, and you're kind of unsure about it. Then I kind of said, well, this is what I was thinking. You're like, okay, I think this could work. You see Act 1. How does it play for you because this is a separate thing altogether. How do you think this film is going to play as acts?
I think very successfully. I think it really does work because at the end of it, I wanted more. At the end of it, it was definitely that moment of like wanting the next scene to pop up. And so, it really is great because it just builds that momentum of what's going to happen next, and
Yeah.
needing more of the story.
You and I were so kind of against the idea at first of splitting it because the story by its nature builds. And so to just, keep pausing it just felt like, well, this is going to be kind of keep kind of pulling the rug out. But I think we found the right places to stop it. And so it just will keep the anticipation going. And also I think it's really cool that it gives people a chance to revisit it a few times before the next act drops. So they're really they understand exactly what we're doing.
Exactly. And more than that, they get to see the details, all of the tiny, tiny little details that were very intentionally put into each shot, each scene, each take. It was a lot of work to do that. And I really like that people are rewatching it because they're not going to miss any of those little details, and
Yeah.
that makes me very happy.
I got contacted by one person who said the moment it faded up, after your song Fade, by the way, and we see Glastonbury Grove, they knew we weren't playing around. and that was, I mean, that was kind of designed by default, that we knew that first 5 minutes was everything. Because if we didn't establish, we're playing for keeps here, I don't, it would be hard to kind of get people on board. We had to begin it where you knew how serious we were taking this. And so when it begins with Glastonbury Grove and we see the doppelganger pulling you out of the Black Lodge, which is something we never got to see in the original series, and Truman's there and discovers you, and then you're getting loaded up into the ambulance and the credits start. I think at that point, the audience is just, for the most part, completely on board. They're like, okay, I feel like we're in good hands here.
Yeah, absolutely. They saw how much work was put into it, and that, like as you said, we took it seriously from the get-go.
Absolutely. And that was something that you and I were always on board about, of like, if we're going to do this, if we're going to put the time it's going to take to do this,
We're going to do it right.
We got to do it right. Because, this was something that obviously you wanted to do. You also saw the potential of what it could do for you in terms of like, showing off your range, which is extraordinary in this film.
Well, before, I mean, when I first found the project, I didn't know I was going to be an actor in it. Honestly, I thought the writing was great, and I have this something about me is I have it like if I find a project that I think could really be something that I think has a lot of potential, I just have this like need to make it happen, no matter what it takes, and make sure that it reaches the full potential, And I wanted to make sure that I could help bring the story to life because I feel like it would have been a little sad, if it wasn't.
Oh, it would have been incredibly sad. And like I've said, I think the universe was wanting this film made because, for those of you who don't know, when I first was greenlit to make it, I wasn't quite sure where I was going to shoot it. And I was like going, well, I could shoot some of it here. I could shoot some of it in Washington. And so when I thought, well, maybe I'm going to shoot maybe a lot more in Washington State, I put an ad looking for actors, and your mom saw it and thought, well, that would be a great opportunity.
Yeah. What are the odds?
But then, but then it gets weirder because then the project kind of fell apart, and so then it was like, okay, well now where am I going to do this? And I thought, okay, well I guess I'll just do a lot of it here. We're still going to do some stuff in Washington, but we'll do a lot more here. And then your mom, who's following the project, goes, well, what's really strange is my daughter just moved to your area, and she was going to recommend you when we were going to shoot in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And now I was like, okay, I guess we're going to be shooting a lot more of it here. And you just recently moved here. So it's like,
and I was moved to that area, without sharing too much, like,
right.
It wasn't necessarily my choice to move there. And it just was, the situation. And so
I've always maintained the universe put us in the same area at the same time, wanting to make the same project.
Well, all of us, everyone in the project,
right?
Because without literally every single person in the project, it just wouldn't have been what it ended up being, which was.
And like funny about that is Larry, who plays Major Briggs, who people just have been gushing all over on Twitter about. He's got like a devoted fan base already. He wasn't even going to play that role. He was going to play another role. And we had someone else's Briggs who fell out. And then Larry contacted us and said, I really want to do Briggs. And we're like, okay. Now, anyone who knows Larry, he's a great guy. He doesn't look anything like Major Briggs at all. Right? He has hair, he has mustache, goatee, or a little beard, whatever. And I was like, I don't know. But I was like, well, we kind of need Major Briggs because this is kind of a big scene we got going on in this Act 1. And he shaved and cut his hair. And
then, I want to put in, he did not cut his hair.
No.
I cut his hair.
I thought Mindy helped. No, it was you and
no. Okay. We went up to Mindy's bathroom,
right?
And I took out an electric trimmer, and I swear I think I still have little hairs in one of my shirts from when I right. He has very amazing thick hair. This man has really great hair.
And his wife was who helped us with the project in other areas. She was not happy.
I'm so sorry.
She was not happy that we shaved his head. And at first he was like thinking, well, maybe I'll do a bald cap, and we're like, it's not going to work. Not in 4K. We're going to be able to see everything.
The quality, and that speaks another thing to the quality of it. We wanted to make sure that everything was as good as it could be. We weren't gonna, do bald caps or, bad wigs or, there was no, pardon my French, half-assing it, for lack of a better phrase. So yeah, no, I shaved his head in Mindy's bathroom.
But I saw it and I thought, okay, that's cool. And it wasn't until we were in the hospital set and he put on the wardrobe and came around the curtain as he was like kind of getting ready, and I took a picture of him and I went, this is gonna work. It
Oh,
wasn't up until that moment. Like I just thought he's really nice, he's really cool, he's getting, he's doing us a huge favor by doing this. He looked the part and then he broke out the accent. And of course, I find out that
Major Briggs accent.
that one of the things that Larry does for a living is audiobooks, where he has to change his dialect a lot by what he's reading. So he was
Very
able
skilled
to
at it.
right. So he was able to completely match Don Davis's performance as Major Briggs, and it's just, I mean, that scene between you and Briggs in the hospital, and then of course with the music and stuff, it just takes you right back into the original series.
Yeah, his transformation into Major Briggs was kind of perfect.
Yeah, and just everyone just surprised me. There were like so many of the actors just stepped up so much. We had Sarah play Norma, and obviously, Nico gets to show a lot of range just in this act one. He's like innocent Cooper.
Oh yeah.
And then the Mr. C scene, which it's funny because we're driving back after shooting that scene and we were like going, did we get it? Did we get that scene? Because like it was so hard to determine because Mr. C had to be creepy but subdued.
Well, and it
And
was so quiet. None of the music had been added. It was so still and quiet, which is what it needed, that like kind of almost dense feeling in the scene, which was completely, brought forward with the music in the scene as well.
Mhm.
That I think really kind of pulled it together. But it's, sometimes it's hard to see before it's all been put together,
Right, right. And it's such an essential scene, and we were like, did we get it? I think we got it. And we just kept our fingers crossed, and then when I edited it together and put the music on here, I was like, okay, this is completely gonna work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And especially, that cutaway to you wrapping yourself in plastic, I think is I think that startles a lot of people.
Yes.
Between that and I'm seeing a lot of people online mention they really get like the hairs on their neck staying up when you start dropping Audrey's name, and
And then the,
knowing what potentially is going to happen moving forward.
yes.
Yeah.
And then also the, "Get thee to a nunnery" line also.
Mhm.
A lot of people like that one too.
Yeah. And that was the line that we knew was important in the script. But I think it really is accentuated with you and Nico just staring at each other in the face and the camera's right there. And then he just throws you to the bed and walks away. And it was a tough scene to shoot because,
Crazy intense scene.
I mean, one, I firmly believe that scene was perhaps responsible for why we didn't get to use one hospital location ultimately. And maybe there was a couple other things in there, but the location we were shooting at was so wonderful to us. They just basically said, hey, come on in, have fun, guys.
They were great. They were amazing. And, I think that was coupled with the fact that we absolutely, were respectful and cleaned up after ourselves and made sure that, they knew everything that was going on,
Yeah, that
It
never
was
looked like
wonderful.
it never looked like we ever even filmed at the end of the night,
No.
when we were done. So yes, after we filmed everything, we all picked up. Maddie and I cleaned up the room, and whoever else was there.
That was one of the, like there were a lot of like 14-hour days,
Mhm.
just from beginning to end. And a lot of that was setup and cleanup, set dressing, makeup, hair. It was it was
You were
a lot.
you were sewing on Major Briggs,
I was sewing on a
pins and
costume.
stuff.
That was a
Yeah.
real one to put together, by the way.
Oh, I
Major Briggs
bet.
costume. Oh, yeah. It was super fun and a really fun challenge to try and find all of those authentic pieces.
Yeah, but you can see the detail, and it's completely worth it because everyone's just like, "Oh my god, Major Briggs is alive. Here he is," and, so I just wanna throw out a couple questions to you. You as Annie in Act 1, some people are kind of surprised that Annie has, dare I say, a spine. Not that she didn't have one before. I always thought she did, but this is Annie post Black Lodge. She's a little irritated. I mean, Cooper warned Donna, Audrey, and Shelley that Wyndham Earl was coming after them, but he never thought to warn Annie. And he's troopsing all over the town, kissing her and hanging out in the diner. And so, I mean, of course, she's going to be a target. He never tells her that Wyndham's in town. So this is why she's ticked off.
Mhm.
She got kidnapped. Um, she's hearing that Cooper had this thing with Audrey that obviously didn't materialize, but uh, and now and so she feels like she was just a whatever. She feels kind of betrayed by the whole
Well,
scenario.
I think also the reason that some fans may have been surprised by it is all we've seen, as of, in the actual series of Annie is just, everything's going great as far as she knows. Everything is great. Things are going well. She's met someone she really likes. She doesn't know about any of this stuff. So, you know, we haven't seen her in the know. We haven't
Hmm.
seen her really have to react to anything going on as far as, conflict and danger. I mean, of course, in the moment, reactions to danger in the moment is a lot different, because, a lot of the time you're in shock as her character was. And, it's just there's so much going on in those, those scenes. But I think that the surprise may have come from that we haven't really seen her character faced with this kind of conflict before.
Right. And again, she's moving into this, she's moving back to this town. She hasn't been in a while. Um, she just kind of feels like she's on cloud nine, this whole week, and then she gets crowned Miss Twin Peaks, and now reality is hit.
Yeah, I think she feels, super disappointed and kind of maybe even also like at a loss too.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, absolutely. I think that the way that she reacted falls in line with the character. It's just something that we haven't had the opportunity to see from that character yet. So I think that's pretty cool in its own right.
I also think opening it with you and Norma is essential. Um, yes, it works as your sister is there to be with you when you wake up, but an underlying thing that is happening in that scene that a lot of people haven't picked up yet, or maybe they do subconsciously, I don't know, is guilt. There's a lot of guilt happening here. Um, you know, Annie comes to town, uh, you know, uh, Norma welcomes her, gives her a job there at her diner. Um, she is one of the co-judges of Miss Twin Peaks, right? That Annie wins. Annie is kidnapped directly in front of her sister at Miss Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Does Norma go to the sheriff's station and be like, Harry, Coop, whatever you guys need, I'm there. I can help you. No, she doesn't even bother. She goes to Ed's house and deals with the whole Nadine situation. She completely leaves her sister alone, kidnapped by this crazy man, and goes off to go deal with her boyfriend and their relationship. So when Annie wakes up and Norma's there,
And she
yes,
talks about it at the hospital too, with Annie. That's
well, she even says, I'm not gonna worry you with my troubles. Um, she gives you, a line, "Are you okay? What happened?" You say, "I don't remember." She moves on to what's going on with her. But there is an underlying thing of guilt happening there. And that is something that will be explored.
Yeah.
But I always thought it was very peculiar that Annie is kidnapped directly in front of her sister, and Norma doesn't even ask one question about Annie in the final episode of Twin Peaks.
That's true. I knew it was right in front of her, but I wondered if it was just so chaotic that she didn't
But
register it, or
but the
that
lights come on and Cooper's running around going, "He's got Annie."
yeah, I don't know. You got me there.
Well, so that's one thing that I definitely wanted to explore, the nature of you two as sisters, and perhaps the guilt and having to deal with
And
mom
that's
and that type
something
of thing.
that is something that is definitely explored, and I think that is a really nice thing to see going forward.
Right, because so much of Twin Peaks, and this is not a knock against it, but so much of Twin Peaks, because Cooper is the new person in town, we see the town through his eyes. And in this movie, for the most part, it's seen through Annie's eyes. So we're seeing things a little differently than you would.
Slightly different perspective. Yeah.
Right, exactly. All right. Now, I'm going to let you tell this story, because I've told this story before, but I want to hear you tell this story. The scene of Cooper and Wyndham going into the dress shop and stopping the the robber. I want you to tell the story of us filming that scene and the chaotic nature of that day because of what was happening directly behind us. Do you remember?
Yeah. So we're filming, and and we're dealing with a very, very intense scene in a dress shop.
Well,
So
we started in the car.
yes, you did start in the car. My main part, when I really came into it, I kind of had to stay away from the car for sound and everything. So I kind of came into it once we were in the actual shop. And so we're filming, and of course none of these weapons are dangerous. They're not real, they're not loaded. It's completely safe. But it just so happened that the seamstress shop right across the street was broken into while we were filming. And the cops came, but we didn't know the situation yet. And so the cops came, and we were like, how do they know? Like, like, are they here for
Well, it
us?
wasn't just cops. It was like 4 or 5 cars, and we had people with ski masks and
It was
shotguns. And
terrifying. We were like, someone's got to go tell them what's going on. So then we go out to, someone goes out to talk to them. I don't remember who. I think it was you. But they were like, "Oh, yeah, no, someone broke into the seamstress shop across the street." And we were like, "Oh, okay." I mean, that's terrible. But
but
also,
it was also, they weren't open. Nobody was hurt. It was
no,
just,
no,
yeah.
absolutely. No one was there. It was, and I don't think they really even broke in. I think it was an attempted break-in that set off the alarms and they ran off. Um,
But
and
keep in
that's
mind
where
that we were shooting with, actors with, like, shotguns and people with ski masks and things like
on a
that.
first impression, it wouldn't look good, you
No.
know, not
Well,
knowing
and
that it
also
would look
the owner of the shop, who was incredibly lovely, for letting us shoot there, because we were trying to find a location because our previous location had fallen through. She wasn't there on set to say, "Oh no, they're with us. They're with me." So how would they have taken our word for it if they had stormed the shop?
good. I don't know. Well, there are I mean, they would see we could show them, the weapons were not real, they were not loaded. We can show them the script and everything, but it would have been a big thing. It would have definitely cut into filming time. So I'm kind of relieved that it all worked out.
Oh well, yeah, me too. Because I was like, this is gonna go. Yeah, I was like that. This could go bad real quick. So, um, that was an eventful day, an early day actually. That was in November,
Mhm.
dare I say, of 2019. So over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a while. We have a lot of people watching us right now live, which is fantastic. Nico and Anna are in the chat, which is fantastic.
Hello. Hi, Nico. Hi,
We
Anna.
will get to a lot of your comments and questions in a few minutes. But yeah, you know, because like your character of Annie, kind of, it's almost like Christmas Carol. You're visited by 3 people in the hospital. You have Norma and Major Briggs, and obviously Mr. C, who you of course think is Agent Cooper. Um, it's it's interesting to watch it as a first act because as someone who knows the whole story, it is sort of like the introduction episode. It's like kind of getting you reacquainted with everybody, because things are really going to start picking up pretty quick, and we're going to go into some very
I'm
interesting.
excited. I'm excited for people to see that.
Oh, I do too. And I think those who write, you know, how much they enjoy it, and you know, we had a lovely comment from someone the other day saying this is masterful. We love it. I just can't wait for them to get to Act 4 and Act 5 to see where we are, because it's gonna change your perception of a lot of things. I think, but in a good way.
In a good way.
In a
In a
very
big
good way.
way.
Yeah, there are major things coming up. And I could not be more excited. And I am glad that we ultimately split this up into acts.
I mean, throughout the whole project, you know, with everything that happens, with everything we've had to do, it, you know, it really does fall in line with the whole universe mentality because it's all worked out for the absolute best. And every time, you know, we've had to make a certain decision for whatever reason, it's always been like, yeah, that worked out just the way it should have. And so, yeah, I'm super grateful about that.
Even times that we were both pulling our hair out going, how are we going to get out of this situation? 2 weeks later, we would look back and go, well, that worked out fine.
Oh, absolutely. My goodness.
Like I said, like Larry with Major
Yes.
Briggs. I mean, he wasn't even supposed to play that role, and
He was perfect.
he was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so let's go through a couple of these comments here. We have a bunch of sleepyheads in here saying, I'm sleepy, but I'll try and stay up and watch. You're sleepy.
Thank you.
Maddie's 3 hours ahead of me. She's really tired, I'm sure. So,
Well, I know people from all over are watching, so.
that's true. That's true. Let's see. We have Daniel Emery, Twin Peaks Coffee Time. Jason Sowers here. Daniel Nico is here. He says Coop has entered the chat. And I am so thrilled that people have really taken his performance as Cooper. Like, they've really embraced it, which is great. I gotta tell you, just a little behind the curtains. Nico was very nervous and always conscious of, are the fans gonna like this? And he really put his trust in us to make sure that, you know, because there's not a lot of wiggle room with playing Agent Cooper, you know, and as an actor, you might want to try this or try that, but it wouldn't be, even though he's not doing a Kyle mimic performance at the same time, though, to play the character, you know, there's only so much wiggle room. And I know sometimes that was frustrating, but the payoff, he's seeing that everybody is responding to him.
The payoff, definitely. I think he put a lot into that character, and I think it's so evident because, you know, how much work he put into it, because it really did pay off.
Absolutely. And little just kind of thought processes, you know, this is early Cooper for the most part. So he's not quite the Kyle MacLachlan character that we get introduced to in the pilot episode. He's more, I don't know if you've seen it, but he's more Kyle's character in Blue Velvet, which is a younger version of himself. In fact, Nico's hairstyle is the character of Jeffrey Beaumont from Blue Velvet and not Dale Cooper. And I think that him and Paul uh their performance, because it's interesting is there's a scene in Act 1 that you weren't there. I think it's one of the very, very few scenes you were not there to see filming, and that is the Cooper meets Wyndham Earl scene,
Yes.
because we were supposed to shoot that in the location of the FBI offices, and of course, because of the pandemic, we couldn't.
Then
We lost the location, and so I thought, how are we going to shoot this scene? Because it's supposed to be Cooper walking into the FBI station and seeing Diane at her desk, and Wyndham Earl's there, and they're introduced. And so I thought, oh my goodness, am I going to have to rewrite Cooper's opening, Diane message that we see him do while he's getting
that
dressed?
was one option.
I thought, well, maybe he just says, I'm so glad, that Wyndham Earl and I just got partnered up, or, just something just to kind of bring it together. And then, I was talking with you and a few other people, and it was just kind of like, well, I mean, we could move it to the parking lot. That would be kind of weird, but okay, well, we can try that. And I'm really glad we did. It was a scene we quickly threw together, and while we were filming it, you were leaving town, so you weren't there for the filming of it. And it was like, we were done filming that scene within an hour. Like, it was really quick.
But I do think that it was really important that it was in there.
Oh, I do.
That the meeting of those two characters was so integral to.
Absolutely. In fact, after we filmed it, both Nico and Paul, because Nico at that point had wrapped the film, he was done.
Mhm.
And I said, Nico, can I please beg you to come back for one more scene? And when I threw it out to Paul, I said, and Mindy, who's playing Diana, said, would you guys be willing to come back and do this? And Mindy and Paul were like, yes, because they knew they wanted that moment. Nico was like, yeah, like because eventually he was like done. He thought he was done, but it was like the next weekend or the next week over, and I just said, let's just try it. And I'm so glad we did, because it just you need that moment. I don't care what location it's in. Ultimately, you need the moment where Agent Cooper and Wyndham Earl meet.
Yeah,
I think it's very, very important. Your mom's in the chat.
Hi, Mom.
Daniel says, great job on Queen of Hearts. Bravo. Emery says, Madison, you are a very talented individual. You sing, you act, you produce. Congrats. And I don't know any details, but from what I understand, you are going to be recording an album soon, or something of akin to that. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a few music things coming soon, and I will absolutely be sharing that. But while we're here, I figured we'll just keep it focused on.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to let people know that you have these other amazing things coming
I
up.
absolutely do. And, if anybody, I'm going to go ahead and plug myself real quick. If anybody wants to keep up with what is going on with my music, or wants to hear more, then they can follow me at maddie.boo, MADI.BOO. And that's on Instagram. And so I'll be putting all updates there.
There's also your Annie Instagram as well.
I'm going to be merging all of the accounts into one single account, so it's easier, for people to follow and keep up with everything. And so I'm not.
Are you still updating your that Facebook page that you were doing, or are you done?
Trying to. Sometimes I forget about it, because I really do focus on my Instagram account,
right,
as far as keeping people updated, because it's so.
You're not on Twitter much. I tag you on Twitter regardless, but I know you're not on there very much. So
I never really learned Twitter fully, so it's new to me. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out what the whole enigma of Twitter is.
It's basically a giant trolling site. It's basically what
anyway.
But it is good for promotion. It is good to just say, hey, I got this coming out, that type of thing. So Anna's here talking about the Black Lodge moment of when the doppelganger pulls you out of the lodge. I just want to say that is truly your scream that is in the film. A scream so loud that Nico almost went deaf.
I'm so sorry, Nico.
Because it wasn't, we did, I'm going to say 7 or 8 takes of it. Which I can't believe your voice. I can't believe your voice held out that whole day. But that shot was, you gotta admit, it's so awesome to see.
I'm very proud of my horror scream, but I'm very sorry to anyone who has to be really close to it.
No, but I mean, just the because usually in Twin Peaks, you see Cooper. It's a static shot, camera, tripod, and he's walking down the hallway, and it's very moody, atmospheric, etc. This is the first time we've ever seen real movement in the lodge, which is like full on doppelganger charging you at full speed, the camera racing behind him, grabbing you and pulling you out of the lodge.
Yeah, that was something that was really fun to explore,
but also very hard technically to do too.
Yes.
Because we had a lot of ropes and things holding the curtains, and so
many moving parts.
So if you got pulled in the wrong direction, someone was going to get decapitated. So it seemed like but I think it came together beautifully, and the lodge looks just fantastic. That was a nearly a 15-hour day, I think, that day. I mean, it was hard, but I think when you see it in the film and you see how it all comes together, it was completely worth it.
Oh yeah, no question.
Because we had no idea for the longest time how the heck we were going to pull this off. And then something,
and a lot of time to figure it out. It's like that part was like a puzzle that kind of loomed over the entire project, and when it finally came together, it was
because awesome. We had explored different ways of doing it, different locations. We checked out a few different possible locations. The one thing that I was always wanting, which is something that I think a lot of people, when they do their Black Lodge, and again, there's not been a lot of fan films like this, but even when people create like a little, I don't know, a little party thing or something like that, or something to take pictures of and all that, it's usually like a corner of a room, and they have like the little couch, and they have like the little floor, and they have the curtains. I really wanted the depth, which is something you don't really see. And because whenever Cooper's walking down the hallway, you see clearly down the hallway, it's a hallway. And so I knew if we were going to show the hallway of the Black Lodge, it couldn't look like it went back 3 feet. It had to look like it went back, 40, 50 feet back. And
luckily we found a really great space.
And for Nico as Cooper to pick up that, or the doppelganger, I'm sorry, to pick up that speed means that obviously you couldn't just have started at a, just kind of da, 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 da. So he's running, I'm running. I'm always, when I see that moment come together, especially with after your voiceover say, see the other side, hear the other side, and then we get to see the other side. here it is. Again, I think that's a moment where people go, oh, this thing is legit.
Really cool.
Let's see. Emery says the first 5 minutes, Act 1 was truly great. I felt totally immersed back in the universe. It felt so seamless. That was always the intention. Jason says, I adored the Briggs Annie scene. Some Cyclops, we're going to get to her article pretty soon. That says that scene was amazing. Totally agreed. Giddy Horse says, I like how we see the contrast between good and bad Coop. Jamie's here, says the final scene in the hospital between Annie and Cooper was outstanding and full of suspense. I loved it. Emery says, Annie wrapping herself in plastic was such a jaw-dropping moment. It totally caught me off guard, but absolutely worked on many levels. Well, of course, I mean, you're just pulling the blankets. You're just pulling the blankets over yourself, but from his point of view,
that one gives me chills to watch.
it was one of those things we were shooting, and it was like, we did a couple takes of it, but we kind of knew in that moment like that would work, and because it is just creepy, and the way you wake up in the bed and he's just standing there in the dark just watching you, it's like pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, pretty creepy.
Someone Cyclops says the amount of love that you guys had for your craft and material is definitely evident, so thank you to everyone who helped make this. Andreas says wonderful first act, looking forward to act 2. It's coming up, guys. John here says I haven't had the opportunity to see it yet. It's not. It's totally back up. We only pulled it for one day.
Yeah, it's been up for
over a week now.
20 days. Yes.
Jamie says I think the idea to put it out in parts was a really good idea. It gives us time to digest it and discuss it, just like the old days. I really am enjoying these like videos that are being made about it. They're a lot of fun. That they're kind of everyone's getting into the spirit of it. So, let's see. Your mom says, I remember how concerned you were with pulling it. How are we going to pull this all off? Linda is in the chat, says, I just want to tell Madison, I love, love, love your song that opens the film was the overture.
Oh, thank you.
I had some people say to me, why is there a 6-minute overture, in this thing? It's because it was always supposed to be one film.
Yes.
And as one film, the overture is an overture. But I also did not want to just cut the overture because it was a smaller thing, because, I mean, if it wasn't, for Maddie, this project would not exist in the way it does now, especially. It probably never would have come together, because very shortly after the pandemic hit, it would have been 2022 before I even started filming the movie. So that would have just been insane.
Well, I want to say a quick thank you so much to everyone who, complimented my song, who liked it. I recorded it. A little fun fact about it is that I actually recorded and wrote the song when I was in high school, and when, we were doing the film and we were putting music to it, that song came back to me and I had it, and I was like, I hadn't released it yet because I don't know why, I just, I thought, wow, this fits perfectly with everything about the character, at least from my perspective that I was playing. And then also just, an overarching theme in the script. And I was like, this is crazy. And so it's so cool that it ended up matching so great. But I actually did record it years ago, and it just so happened to fit wonderfully with this.
And I think you brought it to my attention. I think it was when you were doing some of your ADR sessions. Like, I didn't even know about this.
I was a little shy about it, but I was,
you said to me, look, you don't have to use this, but I just want to share this with you. And if there is a place for it, that's cool. And obviously the thing had been planned out with a lot of the music that to play, which is essentially a 6-minute song. I was like, I don't know if there's room for it, but
I thought maybe it could go in the credits somewhere,
right. But I thought, you know what, because the film was looking like it was going to be a lengthy affair, I thought let's do it as an overture. And then I also cut it for you as a music video as well, showing Annie in the hospital.
Yes.
So it's in there twice. Yeah, so that's I love the song. And I gotta tell you, the first time I heard the song, I was like, yeah, it's a really nice song. Now that I've heard it about 1 billion times, having to work on the film, I think it's absolutely stunning. And so much so that I'm like, if I knew you had this kind of voice, we would have recorded maybe a few more stuff. And I know something that gets everyone the chills is um, when you sing Sycamore Trees to Major Briggs. I've gotten a lot of messages from people saying, because the way you stop after Sycamore Trees and you hold that look, it's full on PTSD. You know.
Oh yeah, she's in a whole different place.
And in fact, now I don't know if you're going to do this, but at one time you had mentioned that you were thinking about doing a cover of Sycamore Trees at some point. Is that something you would still, maybe not to release officially on a record, but just
No, at the time I was thinking about it, and then honestly, before I knew that my song was gonna be an overture, I was thinking of doing a recording of me live singing
right,
my original song, but with Twin Peaks vibes, the red curtains, the, Black Lodge floor, and kind of adding a whole Twin Peaks vibe to it.
right.
And then I moved, and then I moved again. So things got very, very crazy. And then it ended up being an overture, and it gets to be in the film. So
And it's the first thing everybody hears. So
pretty cool.
I think it
I'm
is.
glad that people liked it. I know it is very long, but like Cameron said, it was originally supposed to be in front of a much longer clip.
But I didn't want to cut it. I was like, no, because like it completely sets the tone. And I knew that before the whole film drops, people would go back and watch, X1, 2, and 3 or whatever. I didn't want to take away that part of the experience from them. So Audiotron says, I always knew you would make this happen. Really happy with the video and audio quality, especially with my sometimes sketchy Wi-Fi. That was definitely a concern for us. Because a lot of the locations we were shooting at were very noisy. And so there were times where we thought we may have to ADR, which means like replacing the dialogue. We thought, well, we may have to replace the dialogue for the entire film
And do sound,
and
like
and do all the sound work. And we were like going, okay, well, they do that in Star Wars, they did it in The Hobbit, it is possible. We were looking at it as a huge undertaking, like, okay, but possible. But then when the pandemic hit, it was like, well, who knows how long this thing's going to last. And then you were moving. And so what we basically did was we went through the film and found the lines that we absolutely necessary had to record. Like, for instance, there were some stuff in the hospital where I don't know for sure, but in the background, it seemed like you could almost hear the beginnings of COVID starting. There were a lot of people coughing in other rooms, and sometimes it was drowning out the dialogue. So like for those kind of lines, we did have to replace, but we thought we were going to have to do that for the whole film. But because of the pandemic and you were moving, we thought, let's just go in and get the essential stuff. And then I did that with everybody else because we didn't want the film to be like mismatched,
right.
Otherwise you would have really felt that. So a lot of the sound you're hearing is the natural sound. So where I've had like one or two people say to me like, oh, I don't really like the echo of that room, but it's like, well, that's the way the room sounded. So it's like this sort of naturalistic thing. And also filming it in 4K, which is the first time anything, I know it's not official Twin Peaks, but anything like that takes place in this world has been filmed in 4K. And I think some people, not a lot, but there's been a few people who said to me like, it's just way too clear. It's way too bright. It's way too this and that. But that was something that we had always thought about. It's like, well, this is Annie's story. It should feel different. It shouldn't feel like the same thing as Cooper's, way of
like
looking
you
at
said,
this.
it's a different perspective.
Right. And so I thought, and also they're in a hospital and fluorescent lights are everywhere and
Everywhere.
everywhere. And but I got to say the hospital stuff, I mean, just looks like you are there.
I was so thankful to get that location.
Absolutely. And that was not, it wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy either. And I
It
mean,
just was, it was difficult to find it. And then once found, they were actually very, very, you know, um, very nice with us, very welcoming. You know,
well,
it
well, it
was,
helped that we knew somebody that oversaw like a big part of their
yes.
the hospital for a long time. So we had someone vouch for us. But I remember after we shot one day, they called us and they said, "We just want to say we're so happy and thrilled how orderly you guys were, how clean you guys were." And then they said, um, um, "I just want to let you know um, that um, that we're experiencing one of the worst flus we've ever seen." Do you remember this?
Yeah, I remember. That's crazy foreshadowing. Yeah, they're like, "Hey, there's this really bad flu coming through
And
here."
then we had an actor who showed up for one of the scenes, and they were like, "Oh, I've had the worst flu I've ever had in my life." Do you remember that? And
A
then
few
a
extras were not feeling well, and it was like, "Oh, the we're used to
it's
winter
the
time and
it's
things
flu
going
season,
around."
and then they start giving us masks, right? So we would go in, like anytime we went outside of our location, we had to wear masks. And this is before anything. I mean, Maddie and I would be driving back from the location, going, "You hearing about this COVID thing overseas?" And you know what I mean? And it
Yeah,
was like
all of a
it
sudden,
was
it just
it was this impending doom like coming at us, and um we've said this before off camera, but one of the things that I am so thankful for is that we wrapped out all the hospital stuff prior to shutting down. We never would have gotten back in there. So
those scenes would not exist the way that they do.
no, no. So anyway, let's see. Air Pressure says excited to see the rest of the film. Steve says, Madison, you're so talented. Thank you for all your hard work in Queen of Hearts. So
You.
and I know you need to go in a few minutes, but I want to just bring this to your
We're in like
attention.
15 minutes.
Okay. This amazing article was written by Jamie, who was actually in the chat earlier. That Gum I Like is back in style. Initial reactions to Queen of Hearts. Basically, she's going to be covering the series by acts. She said she was blown away by Act 1. Wrote, I'm a hard person to sell on a Twin Peaks story. You know, so to have someone like this, like completely like buy into it. She says, I finally feel I'm able to be with Annie Blackburn and spend time with her. It's made me want to get to know more about her. The film opens with a gorgeous overture sung by you. The sonic and lyrical feel of the song is perfect in setting up the feel and the pace for the movie. It's obvious that that I've watched Twin Peaks and understand the show. And then it's really interesting. I wanted to get your viewpoint on this. She says, in an unexpected twist, this film invited me to consider the limiting dichotomy of the survivor victim, not only as it's used in story narratives, but how it actually fits within the lives of those touched by domestic and childhood abuse. In Queen of Hearts' first act, we are introduced to Annie as a woman transcending this victim survivor trope. Here she is fully realized character with some reasonable feelings about the situation she's in. Madison gives Annie a strong, fierce voice, and one I'm delighted to hear.
I mean, it was very nice of her, to be so complimentary toward me. But as far as what she said about, that trope, and I feel very strongly about, being able to break that trope, because I think that authenticity was the biggest goal, characters, script, all of it, to be as authentic as possible and as real as possible. And that's part of it, is all of the real feelings that come along with experiencing something like that. And um they're not, they may be confrontational reactions as would be expected, so however surprising that it was, maybe to some people, I like that she put that in there, because that's where it was coming from, and I'm glad that that came across.
It was definitely something that was on your mind, and I just want to say how, just from performer's point of view, all your scenes in Act One, except for you getting up to close the curtains, which is something you didn't want to do, your character at least. All your scenes in Act One are in bed. So you have to relate. You have to relate to Norma, sit up with Briggs and be confrontational with Mr. C without ever leaving the bed. And so for you to be able to project that kind of spine, especially against Mr. C, without leaving the bed, like you don't get up out of the bed and stand up in his face. You meet him, literally face to face. The scene begins with you two across the room, and it ends with you guys literally inches from each other's face.
Well, he brought a lot to that character in that scene, and he definitely gave me something to push up against, and, definitely made it easier for me to meet him halfway with that kind of strength, because that intensity with his character was so there and really palpable in the room. So that definitely helped.
And also, we had gotten used to Nico as being nice Cooper. that we were kind of like a little taken aback. Quiet Earth says you embrace Annie perfectly. H says thanks for keeping the project alive. And some Cyclops, who's still in the chat, says you guys did an amazing job. Me for writing it and you for portraying it. So oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that every time I work with the footage, I'm so happy that we got the cast who we got.
Me too.
I think it all worked out well. Now moving forward, my hope is that before we drop another act, we'll be able to do another video and hopefully have some other actors as well join us.
Yes,
For
I
that,
hope so.
because we were going to do a whole like countdown video, which that got kind of taken away from us because we had to upload Act One a little quicker than we wanted to. So moving forward, I think it'd be really great. Get Nico on here, get Charlotte on here, get whoever on here. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So I know you need to go, but I want to thank everybody for watching, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and the Facebook groups and all that stuff. And Act Two is coming probably within the week, and I'm really excited. And then we'll do Act Three. I don't know, maybe like the first week of January, whatever, after the holidays. But it's finally coming out, Maddie.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to see it.
I know. It's been a long time coming, but I think that when people see it, they realize, wow, a lot of love got put into this, because it doesn't feel just thrown together. It feels like we really...
definitely wasn't.
Well, nothing made me happier after you watched the rough cut of the film and you said, I like this. So I was like, cool. All right.
Yeah.
We can start from there. All right, guys. But thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And we will see you soon. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to thumb up and write comments on the Queen of Hearts acts as they come out, because obviously the more attention those videos get, the more YouTube sends them out as recommendations to people who like this kind of stuff. So, all right, guys, we will see you soon. Take it easy. Have a wonderful night. Take care.